Hello, folks, and welcome back to my podcast entitled Suboxone Out the Monster. This is episode number 6. Again, I'm your host, Don Horner, or Dr. Don. Remember, the purpose of this podcast is to get you to stop opioids and transition to Suboxone. Again, I have to read a medical disclaimer. Yuck. All information on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical, nursing, or other healthcare professional advice. Always seek the advice of your physician, pharmacist, or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment. And never, never, never take any medication or drug that is not prescribed by your healthcare provider and provided by your pharmacist. No street drugs. You know, there's a lot of fentanyl out there, and fentanyl will kill you. I just love saying that. Today, let's talk about drug rehabilitation programs, also known as rehab programs. These are programs that do not use other drugs to get you off of your addiction to opioid. Now, let's look back historically. The first rehab programs were alcohol dependency programs. Alcohol rehab programs have been around for over 200 years. The first drug rehab program was started in the 1930s when the U.S. government opened what was known as the U.S. Narcotics Farm in Kentucky. The narcotics farm was described as, quote, being adorned with the sweet sound of free-flowing jazz flowing over freshly cut hay and newly harvested crops. Now, that's very relaxing, but who wrote that crap? More modern rehab programs haven't really changed all that much. Now we have more advanced counseling programs along with psychological and psychiatric support services. Lots of rest and relaxation, some exercise, ping pong, foosball, and of course lots of vegetable soup and soft serve ice cream. One of the best parts of the program is that they get you away from your environment, away from the drug deals, away from other people using drugs, and away from the other stresses of life. Rehab programs can either be inpatient, also called residential programs, where you live there for 24 hours a day, or outpatient, where you live at home and go to the program every day. The programs usually last 30 to 90 days, and longer programs tend to be more successful than the shorter ones. But what is the success rate? Success rate is usually defined as no relapses or return to drugs for 1 year. But here's the problem. Opioid use disorder, drug addiction, is a chronic disease. It's never cured. It's not a choice. It's not a weakness. It's just managed, like diabetes, thyroid disorders, or high blood pressure. You just have to manage it. You can't cure diabetes by eating only salads and sugar-free Jell-O for a month. Your sugar levels may be better, but you still have diabetes. If you don't manage your opioid addiction, the monster will come back. Rehabilitation programs can be successful, and the reported success rate is quoted between 40 and 60%. But there's a problem. I've never met anyone who successfully and permanently was cured from their rehab by the rehab program. I'm sure there are some, but we all know people who have had multiple rehab programs, and they're very expensive. Now, the guest of my last episode, that's episode number 5, described his experience with a rehab program in California. He said it was, quote, a luxury camp, which was, quote, ineffective. He said the rehab program made him realize that he had to do something. He said that he would rationalize that his addiction was not that bad because he was not shooting up his drugs. After the rehab program, he came home and transitioned to Suboxone. That was over 20 years ago. If you have a chance, go back to episode number 5 and listen to the interview. It's very powerful. In the next segment, I will interview another guest who made the transition to Suboxone. Like I always say, just keep it in the road. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my next guest, Jack. Jack has been my patient for a long time, and he's a really great fellow. Jack, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Horner. It's a pleasure to be here, and I've been looking forward to speaking with you.
Jack, how old are you now?
I am 46 years old.
46 years old. And how old were you when you started?
I was 21 when I first had my first taste of the devil, known as opiates.
Wow. Wow. And was it recreational or was it medical, surgery? What was it?
Well, it started off, I had my wisdom teeth taken out when I was 21 or 22, and at the time I was listening to this rapper named Eminem, and he was rapping about, taking Vicodin and, all this crazy stuff. And so I just thought, I wonder what's up with this Vicodin. And so when the doctor prescribed me Vicodin after I had my wisdom teeth taken out, I thought, okay, let me see what happens if I take more than what he said to take. So instead of taking one or two, one time I tried four, and oh man, I felt like I was on cloud nine. I felt amazing, had energy, and was bouncing off the walls. I thought, this is great. No wonder they're making rap music about this.
Terrible. And how did you progress? Did you go from Vicodin to other medications, other
Yes,
opioids?
well, what happened was is after that, then I ended up having a series of surgeries. I had, a couple hernia surgeries, I had a shoulder surgeries, and I had a nose surgery. And basically, at that time, I was thinking, wow, if if I need to get a surgery anyways, if I was thinking, should I get it or should I not? But I thought, hey, if I get through with this surgery, then at least I'll get a bunch of pain pills. So let's do it. And at the time, I had great insurance, and I had a job that would give me, 6 weeks off, 8 weeks off. So I said, let's do these surgeries. So I had, four or five different surgeries, and I would always take as little as possible throughout, right after the surgery, just enough to keep the pain away, so that when I was done healing up, I would have extra pills, and that I could use those recreationally afterwards. And so that's what I did. And of course, I always begged for, oh doc, it still really hurts. Can I get another refill? And usually they would give me another, 40 pills on top of that. So whatever they gave me, it was usually double or triple after that. And I'd write a lot of music. I'm a guitar player. I wrote many of my songs because, the creativity that it sort of spawned in me, and I'd play my guitar, I'd write music, and I just had a ball with it. However, the bad side was as soon as you run out, then you start getting dope sick, and that was when it became a real nightmare. When I started, at that point, when I had no surgeries coming up, I'd have to find, somebody at work who had had a surgery and ask them, hey, do you have any leftover pain pills? I'd say, oh, my back's really hurting me, and I did have a little bit of back pain, but it wasn't as bad as I had made out. But I would say, oh, if you got extra pills, I'll buy them from you or whatever. And so I found myself running around with all my friends and colleagues, and anybody who ever had an injury, a broken bone or whatever, I would always try to get in touch with them and see if I could get their leftover pain pills. And it's just shameful looking back on it after all these years later. But it was just the life I led, and so huge roller coaster. When I had plenty of pills, man, life was awesome. Oh man, I was social. I could stay up all night and play softball, talk to the girls, whatever. But then when I ran out, I just wanted to lay in my bed and, couldn't eat, diarrhea, couldn't sleep, just feeling like I was going to die. So it was just a huge roller coaster ride for many, many years.
And you were single back at that
I
time?
was. Well, I was dating. I was not married at the time. I was dating different girls.
Right.
Yeah, quite a bit. But yeah, I was not married. That's right.
I bet you were a fun date.
Oh man, yeah. But see, when I ran out, then it's like, oh, honey, I don't want to go out tonight. I'm not feeling good. They didn't know I was really dope sick. And I remember a quick story. I had one doctor who prescribed me something. It was something going on with my mouth. So I had these stones that accumulated in one of my saliva ducts inside of my throat, and so that this big stone grew and it blocked. So every time I would see a hamburger or something, anytime I would start to salivate, my salivary gland would get backed up and it would just ball up like a golf ball underneath my jawbone. And oh my, it was horrible. So, anyways, I ended up going to an ear,
Yeah.
throat, and mouth doctor, and he took the stone out, cut me open, ended up giving me bottles of Percocet 10s, and he gave me just refill after refill after refill. This is back in 2005 or something like that, and which was fine with me. give me all that stuff. But then when I ran out, then it was just a nightmare, just a nightmare. So yeah, and the reason yeah,
Now, Jack, did you ever have a dealer, a drug dealer, or did you just get your drugs from friends when you ran out?
mainly just from friends. I never had somebody who I wish at the time there would have been somebody consistent enough that I could just, give them half my paycheck. I wish it was that consistent, but because I didn't have a steady drug dealer, I had to run around to all my friends and ask everybody and ask if you know anybody. Oh, you know somebody who had a broken arm? Well, will you ask him for me? And it's just shameful. So real quick, getting back to that surgery on my salivary gland. Um, once that ran out, I was in really bad news, really in bad shape. And I had a buddy of mine who was actually a heroin addict on the other side of the country, and he got off of heroin by taking Suboxone. So he said, "Hey, man, if you want to get off this stuff, take Suboxone. You can take Suboxone for a little while, and it's an opiate blocker, so you won't get sick, and then you can just slowly get off of Suboxone later, but at least it'll stop you from getting sick." Well, I thought, well, man, that sounds great. Because at the time before that, there was a couple times where I got like all those refills, and the most I ever took one time was I took 17 pills one time, and then right,
Oh my
and then because I just got a brand new bottle of 60 Percocets, so I took no, these are actually Vicodin. This one was Vicodin, but I took 17 5 milligram Vicodins, and I had a brand new bottle, so I couldn't wait till take the rest of them. So I thought I got to wait at least 4 or 5 hours, and after 4 or 5 hours, I took 18 more, and it basically did nothing because if you don't give yourself enough time between doses, it basically does nothing. So I'm like, oh great, I just wasted 35 pills. And I remember going back into the pharmacy the next day because the doctor said you can get as many refills as you want. So I came to the pharmacy saying, hey, I want to get this refilled, and the pharmacist said, you just got this refilled this morning, 40 pills. And I was already out, which is crazy to think about. And he said, I know legally I can give you a refill, but please, son, please just come back in the morning. I just don't feel right about giving you 40 more today. And I remember driving away from that pharmacy just thinking, man, I just feel like a real piece of garbage if even the pharmacist is looking at me with just pity and saying, oh, son, you're killing yourself. So
Well, I think he was trying to be a
right,
good
exactly.
pharmacist. Okay, it sounds like he was trying to be conscientious. Okay, so he never criticized anybody for that. Okay, he was just trying to
Oh
be
yeah, yeah,
kind.
100%. He felt sorry for me, and he was just like, "Please, son, don't kill yourself tonight." Yeah, and I respect him for that, for sure.
Now, you had a friend who was on heroin. Did you ever go
I
to
never
heroin?
went to heroin, praise the Lord. But my friend, what he did is he went from Vicodin to Percocet to OxyContin 80s. And then of course they started just swallowing them, but eventually, like a lot of people do, they started to snort them. And he told me that, oh, finally the drug dealer, he had a drug dealer, and back when they came in, the drug dealer said, hey, if you're not afraid of needles, you can save yourself 80% of what you're spending if you're not afraid of needles. So he went ahead and made the switch to heroin. I refused. I've never stuck a needle in my arm, praise the Lord, ever. But my best friend did, and he's the one who introduced me to checking out Suboxone, and thank goodness I finally did back in 2007. So I was running hard 6 years, 7 years on opiates, and then I started a Suboxone program with the doctor in North Carolina at that time.
Jack, let me ask you a question. Was it difficult to make the transition from opioids to Suboxone?
Not at all. It was the easiest thing in the world. It was so easy. Yeah, as soon as I took
Right.
it, I had no desire whatsoever to take another, and I still don't. No desire to take any more opiates whatsoever. It leveled me out, and once I kind of got stabilized on a certain, dosage every day, like I got my life back instead of, you know, the embarrassing moments where, hey, friend, can you ask your friend to see if they have any pain pills to give to me? Instead of that, I just got my prescription and I just took my pill or two every day or whatever, and I got my life back. I got married. My job performance just absolutely went way up, and it's really it just gave me my life back.
Jack, you are certainly a success story. Now, you have a wife, and I understand you have a little girl.
I do. That's correct. That's correct. And I have a wonderful wife and a beautiful little girl. She's 5 years old right now. She'll be starting kindergarten next year, and she is the love of my life.
That's great.
I'm so blessed, so blessed. Yes, but
And you started a business with your father, right? You were
that's correct.
self-employed.
That's correct. I stopped working
Wow,
for a large insurance company after 24 years, and now I'm in business with my father. And life just could. Well, we could make a little more money, but other than that, life is awesome. My stress level is almost zero, and yeah, it's been amazing.
that's great. Well, I think I had a little bit of influence on your decision to become self-employed, didn't I? I told you that was a
You
great idea.
did. Yes, you did. Absolutely. Oh yeah, and yeah, Dr. Horner, you've been not only just a doctor, my doctor, but also I consider you a close personal friend. We've talked about many things that I wouldn't even have told my own brother and sister, and I trust you, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me, helping me out, and yeah, I think we have an amazing relationship.
I couldn't agree more. And Jack, you are a success story. You're a very brave man, okay? And I wish you all the success and happiness in the world. Success will come with your business, money will come, but don't worry about it. Thank you very much for joining in with this conversation. And again, I hope that we have converted one person from opioids to Suboxone, and then we will have done our job. This is God's work. Jack, take care. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Dr. Horner. It was my pleasure. Thank you.